Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Made in New York Animation Project Incentivized Industry Access event for May. My name is Natasha, and I will be one of your hosts for today alongside my incredible co-host, Shane.
Thank you, Natasha. Hey, everyone. I'm Shane. I'm an animator here at TAP. Today's group is scheduled to run from 4 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. But before we begin, let's review some information about this webinar. So first and foremost, this group will operate in webinar format. That means that attendees will not be able to turn on their video or microphone during webinar events. However, attendees are encouraged to use the Q&A feature to engage with our guest speaker, and you'll have plenty of opportunities to do so. You were counted in attendance as soon as you logged in, and this is the bold underlined part. You do not need to follow up with us regarding attendance. If you're here, if you can hear me saying this, you're accounted for. We've got you. If you lose connection, try to rejoin the webinar as soon as possible. But that said, you will still receive your incentive even if you get disconnected from the webinar.
Very important. Thank you, Shane. And I am super excited for this event today. Let's look at the goals for today's webinar. So we'll start with an opening ritual as we do in every TAP group. We will go through our TAP creed. We'll review some program and incentives information. Then we will officially welcome our guest speaker for today, Rihanna Tony. We will have a Q&A after Rihanna's presentation, and then we will close out with a closing ritual.
Very exciting. Thank you, Natasha. How should we open today's group?
So, as many of you in the space know, in every TAP group, we start with an opening ritual. It really helps us check in with ourselves and with each other. And our guest speaker today, Rihanna, has a really cool job title of technical director. And there's so many titles that you could have in the world of animation and just in your career in general. So we'd love to know from you, what is your dream job title? And that could be animation related, or it could be anything at all in any kind of industry. We know that many folks are coming to this event with different interests and skills and career pathways. So please use the Q&A feature to share your response to our opening ritual. We'll read some aloud, and we would love to know, what's your dream job title? So
Candace
Faye,
said, oh, go ahead.
all right. Faye says, I want to work for the entertainment animation industry. Awesome. And Samantha, to become a lawyer. Amazing.
Brooklyn said they'd like to become a K-3 grade art teacher.
Nice. Candace, my dream job title would be art director. Oh, perfect.
Cool. Anonymous attendee says CEO. Good luck.
Nice. That's a great goal. Zenaida, still unsure, but one possibility is an engineer. Beautiful.
Awesome. Felix says dream job, published author and or cartoon showrunner. I feel you.
Cool. Alexa, an engineer. We got a couple engineers in the space today. Very cool.
Lakshmi says senior concept artist.
Mm,
Very cool.
nice. Mohammed, I'm currently studying pharmacy, and Kenneth, I'm a screenwriter.
Nice. Sadria says full-time art teacher.
Nice. We have a doctor in the house. I want to be, Faye says, I want to be a voice actor and animator. Awesome.
Genesis says, I'd love to become a chapter designer and children's book illustrator. That's awesome, Genesis.
Nice. And we'll read a few more. An elementary school teacher. So a couple teachers here, a nurse, a pediatrician. Oh, a lot of medical professional or aspiring medical professionals.
Diplomat, astrophysicist.
A sketcher, clinical laboratory technician. Awesome.
Whoa. Yeah, there's a much wider breadth than I was expecting. This is very cool.
Graphic designer working in a nursing home, character designer,
Journalist or art director.
public health advisor, neurosurgeon.
They're going by really fast now.
I know. Amazing. An actor, producer, director, freelance animator, engineering, and I want to work at the major animation industries and also gain enough experience to make my own indie animation projects and become my own boss and have creative freedom.
That is the
Very,
dream.
very cool. Yes. So thank you all so much for offering your answers in the chat. This paints such a beautiful picture of just the wide range of talents and skills and unique individuals that make up the TAP community. So it's really wonderful to see all of your responses just populating the chat. So thank you all for sharing.
Yeah, thank you all. So before we welcome today's guest speaker, we're going to go ahead and review the TAP Creed and go over some incentives information.
Great. So here on the screen is our TAP Animators Creed. If you're new in the space, this will be the first time you're seeing this, but the TAP Creed is a set of shared principles that we all agree upon to ensure that today's event is the very best that it can be. So number one on the creed is that we show respect, very important. We are a team of individuals from different backgrounds and experiences, as we just learned, with a shared interest in learning. We live up to the same expectations as we would in person. We mute ourselves when we're not speaking in order for all voices to be clearly heard.
Number two, we take care of our technology. We utilize our technology with care and professionalism in order to support the learning experiences of all who attend.
Number three, we focus. We have a lot to learn from our guests today, and all of our attention is focused on the group. We do our best to limit distractions around us, and we wear headphones if possible.
Number four, we participate. We are engaged in the group. We abide by the creed when asking questions and sharing our creative work.
Number five, we own the content. This is our group. This is our opportunity to learn more about the animation industry and express ourselves creatively.
And finally, number six, we attend group. Our voices and ideas are valued. We attend each group we are registered for. We log into the group on time and stay until the end. Our Zoom names match our registration names.
All right, now we will take a moment to review some information about incentives. So you might be asking, how much will I be paid? Well, any attendee who registered for this webinar will be paid $10, but only registered attendees are eligible to receive an incentive. So you must have completed the registration form in order to get that incentive. Incentive cards will be mailed out by May 10th. And please be patient as the mail can be a little finicky sometimes, but you should receive your card in the mail by May 17th. And if you have any questions related to incentives, you can email incentives@theanimationproject.org.
Fantastic. Thank you, Natasha, for sharing that important information about incentives. Now, I'm so excited to welcome our guest speaker for today, Rihanna Toney. Rihanna is former Pixar intern and currently a technical director at Nickelodeon Animation. Welcome, Rihanna.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be here. Yeah, I'll just start sharing my screen and we can get started. Okay. Can you all see this okay? Awesome. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. I forgot to share sound and I realized that. Cool. Okay. So yeah, like Shane said, hi, my name is Rihanna Toney, and I'm currently a technical director at Nickelodeon Animation.
Oh, Rihanna, I'm just gonna stop you for a minute. I don't think we're seeing your full view of your slides. It's showing
Oh,
just
Yeah,
the
we see
little
the presenter view.
presenter.
oh, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
All good.
Okay, is this better?
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. My favorite animal is a manatee. I definitely think I'm a product of my environment in that way. And also similarly, I lived super close by Orlando, so I would go to all those amusement parks since I was a little kid. And that was actually my first dream before animation, was to be an Imagineer and work at the theme parks. Because yeah, I always loved cartoons and animation. I'm the youngest in my family. I have two older sisters and we're super close in age. So we always would watch like all the Disney movies together and SpongeBob and Blue's Clues and all that good stuff. And this is actually a little picture of me at, I think, my 4th birthday. And it was a Dora themed cake, and it's, yeah, just a cute little full circle moments, and now I'm back at Nick. But yeah, and then just like in my free time, I love dancing and thrift shopping, and I can't really sing, but I really love musicals. So I think my animation journey really begins when I got to college. And I went to Dartmouth College up in New Hampshire and studied computer science modified with digital arts. And that was a little interesting to sort of figure out that that was what I wanted to do, because, you know, growing up, I always sort of looked to my sisters with what, you know, AP classes to take and extracurriculars and things like that. But when I got to school, that was sort of the first opportunity I had to really think about what it is I wanted to do and choose a career path for myself. And so I was thinking back to all the things that I loved as a kid, like those movies and TV shows I'd watch with my family, and decided to give animation a shot. And so digital arts was actually the first part of my degree, but at Dartmouth, the curriculum was pretty small. Like, you can't really major in digital arts as the primary major. You have to choose a different major to supplement with it. And so my first digital arts class was a 3D modeling class, and that was my first introduction to using Maya software. And it was a really fun class because it really, like, the learning curve is just amazing. Like, you come in learning or knowing really nothing about the software, and then by the end of it, you build like a custom room environment, and that can be, you know, any sort of room that you want. You get to create like an abstract assignment with, you know, particle effects and fire and like all these really cool special effects. And you also get to model a character and rig it yourself and animate it even. So that was a really fun class for me. And I started that my freshman year and ended up being my professor's teaching assistant up until I graduated. And so she was a really great mentor to me, and, you know, took me under her wing. But yeah, after I took like a fair number of those digital arts courses, like 3D animation and AR/VR design, I had to figure out what the primary major was going to be. And it was actually my professor who suggested that I couple computer science with it so that I could understand sort of more what's going on behind the scenes of like all this digital art that I'm creating. And at first I was like, Lori, are you sure? Are you sure I should do this? And she was like, yes, Rihanna, you gotta just, you know, give it a shot and see what happens. And I'm really happy I listened to her about that. But yeah, and then just the other great thing about my school and my program is that we got to have a lot of exposure to other sorts of classes, like film classes. So I did like a special effects course in film history just to get the more cinematic take on art that we were creating. So it was a really great time. And then that was also the first time that I did Women in Animation. I was in a mentee circle for that. So yeah, now I'll just show just a snippet of some of the projects that I got to do. This is from the computer graphics course where I got to, I don't know if anyone's heard about the teapot of computer graphics, but it's one of the first like models that was created with this sort of software. And so just given a little bit of a template of code to go off of, and then figure out how to, you know, tessellate the model and get it into a really defined smooth mesh was really cool to play around with. And then this video is from the AR/VR class, and it actually was inspired by a film class that I was in, that same special effects course, because one of the movies that we watched was Tron. And I had never seen it before, but I had heard that it was like such a pioneer in like computer animation. And so I decided to do just like a quick model of the light cycle vehicle, and actually showed it to my film professor and my AR/VR professor, and they both really enjoyed it. And yeah, it was just fun to play around with. And then another fun little project I did for that AR/VR course was, it was a group project. It was the final project that we did. And I should also mention that part of my education was during COVID. And so a lot, like, obviously was going on for everyone at the time. And so we designed this sort of virtual reality experience to, just kind of cope with like the stresses of life, and just kind of create like a calm and safe space for people to practice, mindfulness activities and things like that. So I was the primary designer for this project, and so I like scavenged assets together and sort of helped shape the look of it. So yeah, I'll just play like a little part of that. So people can meditate if they like, and just like look around the space.
Welcome to our meditation practice. Today's intention for our time together.
And then also just a timer to set, if you just wanted a little quick 5-minute break in the space, you could set the timer so that, you didn't spend too long in the space. Leave it so that you can skip rocks. And so yeah, like everything you're seeing, like in the background, there's code that's being generated to, make it so you don't fall through the lily pads, and so that, the water actually looks like water and stuff like that. So it was really fun to work on this project for those last few weeks of the semester. And yeah, we all had a really fun time doing it.
That is really cool and unlike anything I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. Okay, cool. So then, yeah, just like one other project I wanted to talk about briefly was actually a personal project I did during school, because it was a summer that I was on campus, but I wasn't taking any classes. And so I really wanted to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit and try my hand at some 2D animation stuff. And so I did this project with a film professor who, had some extra time and took me under her wing. And so she introduced me to the process of cutout animation and using the software program called DragonFrame to do stop motion. And so this one on the left is a puppet made out of colored paper. And then I also made like a corresponding 3D model to it, and yeah, kind of merged the two together in this little short project. And I unfortunately don't have that one with me, but I was able to find these screenshots from when I did that. And then, yeah, the last thing, just sort of about my education that helped me on this journey. Also, besides computer science and digital arts, I worked at the Hopkins Center for Performing Arts at my school. And I was a film management fellow, which essentially meant that I helped curate what films we were showing and what events we were having, just to get more of the Dartmouth community and surrounding community involved in, you know, the film world. And I got to do some cool like meet and greets and panels with some guests that we had. I found this screenshot of if any Spider-Verse fans are out there, this is Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And so it was really cool to chat with them about, you know, their process, and they're also alumni of my school, so we got to chat a bit about that. And yeah, it was just a really great way to like still be around animation, but not have all of my time dedicated purely for computer science courses, but like in other aspects of my life. But yeah, and then so I graduated, and the summer after that, I was very lucky and very fortunate enough to intern at Pixar. And I was an animation technician intern, which essentially was this really small team within the animation department. And sort of half my time was spent developing tools or making tweaks to existing tools that were being used in the animation department. And then the other half was providing any support to the animators if they were hitting any sort of work stopping issues or any technical issues with their systems. My team and I would step in and help them out. And yeah, I learned so much during that time. It was really, really, really cool to get to use some of their proprietary software like Presto, which is similar to Maya, but it just has like a lot more bells and whistles and just unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And so, yeah, that whole summer was just really great and really solidified that this is what I want to continue doing in animation, is just, you know, be a part of the pipeline and, you know, help out however I can, even if I'm not the one like doing the animating myself or creating the art. But if I can just support artists along the way and, you know, make life a little easier for them, this internship really helped me solidify that that's what I want to do. And so, yeah, that ended in the summer of 2022. And after that, you know, it was, you know, it's still a weird time in the industry. It was a weird time back then too. So unfortunately, I couldn't stay on full time with them. And so I really wasn't sure what to do next. But I was like, you know, what can I do in the meantime? And I realized I could just, you know, try and keep my skills fresh, try and, you know, continue to learn, continue to grow. And so I found this this online course by this man named Alexander Richter, who offered different courses of coding, but specifically for animation software packages like Maya, Houdini, Nuke, things like that. And I really wanted to do that because my degree was great, you know, computer science and digital arts, but there weren't many classes that I got to take that let me code specifically within these software packages. And I knew that that would be like particularly helpful for becoming a technical director. And so since Maya is what I felt the most comfortable with, I decided to sign up for this class. And it was really great because, you know, it was a small group of us, about 10 or so students working with him. And we'd have like weekly assignments, weekly check-ins, we'd have each other for support. We'd get personal feedback. And yeah, it was just really great to have someone there to ask questions to, and yeah, just slowly build upon things and get to develop some tools. And so I can share one of the tools that I made for that, which essentially is a way for you to copy animation data from an existing model and be able to re-import that data onto a character that has no animation, so long as like they're similar models that follow the same naming convention. But yeah, I'll just play a little snippet of that. And so yeah, what you're seeing here is a UI that I made, a user interface that exposes the yeah, so you would just manually select the root of the rig, which is this guy here, before exporting or importing any data. You'd click the button and it would run this script and just cycle through all of the keyframes and then save it to a text file at any given location on your computer. And yeah, it would just also save like all the necessary data, the rotation, translation, and things like that. And then for importing it back into a character, you would, yeah, and you can see that here it's just like a standard T-post, so there's no animation on it yet. But after running the import version of the script, you would grab that same text file that was exported from the previous script. And then, yeah, I sped up this process because it takes about 2 minutes. And so he looks very funny right now, but yeah, by the end of it, you can see that the same run cycle is being applied to the model. And so yeah, that's just an example of projects that can just help speed up the process so that you're not like having to reanimate anything. You can kind of reuse some things, make any necessary tweaks, just not have to start from scratch every single time. But yeah, that was a really fun project to work on. And the course itself was about 8 weeks. And so, yeah, it was just really fun to, keep building upon things throughout the couple of months. And then, oh, sorry, it needs to play again. Okay. And then, yeah, so also after that class ended, that was around like February or March of last year. And something that I was doing near the end of the course and kind of during the same time was volunteering for something called the Afro Animation Summit, which is a relatively new program, but it's just meant to uplift diverse voices in the animation industry. And I reached out to them because I had received just a standard marketing email, letting people know that the conference was coming up. And so I just, emailed them back being like, hey, do you need any volunteers? Like, I'd love to help out. I, have a huge passion for animation. And yeah, so they brought me on board and I ended up actually becoming the assistant to the founder of the conference and just helping him like talk to sponsors and vendors and just kind of be a liaison between the two, coordinate travel and maintain calendars and stuff like that. And it was really great because it actually let me fly out here to Burbank because I was back home in Florida at the time. And yeah, just let me, meet some people face to face and help out and yeah, just be in California. So that was a really great time. And then, so last summer, like right after that conference, is when I came to Nickelodeon as technical director intern. And that was a really, really great experience too. And at that point, I really knew that this is what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to continue writing tools and helping out within animation. And so I got to do some cool things over the summer, keep writing Python scripts using Maya. I also got to help out with some more database things with the vendor studios that we're working with and just sort of take that data from Excel and put it into a different software called Airtable and just help automate that process. And yeah, and then my supervisor also let me review shots with him and identify like any sort of fixes that needed to be made, whether it was for the lighting or rendering fixes since it was a CG series. And then, yeah, I just also got to meet some really awesome people, from CG supervisors, VFX supervisors, production managers, like, there's just so many, wonderful, talented people here. And it's just an honor to get to, have a coffee chat with them and just learn more about like their journey and their story. And then, so yeah, that ended in August of last year. And then luckily they were able to bring me back a couple of months later. Halloween was actually my first day. If there's any Rocket Power fans out there, I dressed up as Reggie Rocket for Halloween. But yeah, and so now I'm back here. It's been a really great about 6 months at this point. And yeah, I'm working on a series, but it's not announced yet, so I can't talk too much about it. But yeah, I'm still getting to, automate processes and create tools that, help support the production teams and storyboard artists and the editorial department and just, yeah, just know more about like, how the animation pipeline works, especially between, 3D animation and 2D animation, because there's definitely similarities, but also a lot of differences between those two pipelines. And so, yeah, just continuing to learn new things every day. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this will go. Yeah, Nickelodeon is definitely a place I can see myself staying out for a while, as long as they're happy. But yeah, and then I did want to share this like a cute little thing that I found a couple days ago. Because for my birthday, like I want to say 2021, my friend gave me this little wish capsule. And this was back when I was in college, and so I didn't really know what to wish for, but I ended up wishing for an internship that helped me get to work at an animation studio. And that, yeah, it was just a crazy thing to find. And it's, crumpled up and, it's been through the ringer, but that also just led me into some general advice that I wanted to share, not to sound like too corny, but it truly is just like a mixture of, timing, hard work, luck, and also just like belief in yourself. Because if you, like truly anything can happen, like anything is possible. I could have never really predicted this would happen, but I knew that, if I just tried my best, something was gonna come of it. But yeah, that's also just some general advice I wanted to share is that you know, even if you don't feel like you fit every single bullet point in the job description, every single listing, still just see what could happen, because you never know who's on the other end reading your application. And maybe if you're not the best fit for the one you're applying for, they'll keep you in mind for something else, and at least they have like your information on handy. And yeah, just also don't be afraid to reach out. Coffee chats, informationals, you know, networking events, volunteering events, those are all really great ways to meet people and just learn more about like their journey and, you know, their current position and how they got there. And yeah, just also being patient and gentle with yourself, because again, it is like a very tricky time, like not just in the industry, but just in the world right now. Like there's a lot of things up in the air, but you know, you can only do what you can. Like you can't control everything. Like, you know, there's hiring freezes, the economy, like just all this stuff. But if you can just like, you know, work on your craft, work on yourself, like, and just be ready for when the opportunity presents itself, I think that is a good way to go. It's just my 2 cents, um, but yeah, that sort of wraps up my presentation. Yeah, thank you so much for listening, for joining. You know, happy to answer any questions that are gonna follow. And yeah, just I also wrote my email if you want to reach out, and my LinkedIn, it's just Rihanna Tony. But yeah, that's what I have. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Rihanna, for sharing. And that beautiful image of the wish capsule will definitely be sticking with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much for that.
Mm.
What a great presentation, and such an interesting and unique specialty within the animation industry that I don't think we've ever had a guest that specifically specializes in that technical aspect, and the way you married computer science with creativity and animation. So I'm really excited to see what kind of questions that inspires in our participants, and thinking about how we have a few engineers in the space. I don't know if that means computer engineering, but this could be really aligned with folks' interest who are here in the audience. So excited to see what questions come through. Please put your questions in the Q&A. We definitely had some feedback throughout while you were presenting. Someone commented on the meditation space, saying that was really cool back at that point of your presentation.
It was, yeah. I also wanted to add that I don't the Maya script was way over my head, but I was really, really impressed by it, because like I have a lot of friends in 3D who that would probably like save them hours every day. Like just the whole presentation was really cool. I like that your journey has centered around like continually growing and learning and fine-tuning your discipline to the way it suits you, rather than like the other way around, and it just kind of trusting the process. I found it really inspiring, especially the coming full circle with the wish at the end, like Natasha said. Like, just great presentation. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had a lot of comments while you were speaking. Amazing presentation, great presentation so far. What a nice presentation. So that was all coming in. I wanted to give voice to that. And from the very beginning, Carolina wanted to know what an Imagineer is.
Oh, yeah, so an Imagineer is basically like a Disney engineer that works in the theme parks and kind of help design like the attractions, the roller coasters, the simulations that are at like Disney World and Epcot and things like that. Yeah, and like animatronics, things like that. There's actually a really cool documentary about it, just like the Imagineering story. But yeah, that's a little snippet of what that entails.
Wow, I had no idea about
Is that
that.
something you could still see yourself doing?
It's definitely something that, yeah, I definitely could, especially since you know, again, being from Florida, like half my family is still there. So,
Mm.
you know, I'm here on the West Coast, but yeah, who's to say I won't go back to Florida sometime, but yeah.
Very cool. Siddiqui, I don't know if I have a feeling your presentation may have answered this question, but in the beginning, when you had mentioned you were a technical director, they had asked, does that mean fixing or cleaning up mistakes in animation?
Ooh, by mistakes in animation, I definitely like interact with the animators, but there is a bit of separation between like if I'm the one that's physically cleaning up the keyframes or not. I'm more so my job is just writing scripts that help with that process, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm an animator myself, if that makes sense. Or they try to have like an actual distinction between the two so that you're not, you know, doing the work of two people type of thing.
Mm.
So you're kind of noticing where fixes need to be made and developing tools to help the artists make those.
Yeah, exactly. And so also on my show, I'm handling some of the rigs we're getting and, you know, noticing any things that need to be fixed with like, you know, the deformation and just making sure it moves in a certain way. And so I'll sometimes make those tweaks myself if it's just like a really quick thing, but if it's something that we've, you know, hired another vendor to do, then sometimes we just like, you know, send it back and wait for that to be received again. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
Vanessa was asking, I think you may have answered this also, but just in case, did you know Python prior to your internship at Pixar?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So with the computer science, modified animation or modified digital arts, yeah, that is the first computer science course I took was introduction to programming, and that's where I learned Python. That was maybe like my freshman or sophomore year in college. But yeah, thankfully, like with being a technical director, it's helpful to know different languages like C++ and C#, but truly what I use like on a regular basis, like a daily basis, is Python. So if anyone's like at all curious about, you know, dipping their toe into technical direction work or, you know, game development or anything like that, Python is a really great way to get your foot in that world.
And we have a question about just what it was like in general working with Pixar and Nickelodeon. I think, you know, those are oftentimes really aspirational goals for a lot of young creatives. So maybe to just speak about, you know, what is, maybe we can look behind the curtain and hear about what's the culture like working in those environments.
Yeah, I'd say that definitely something both those places shared is just being like a very fun place to be, like a very, like you walk in the doors and you're just sort of taken aback by like the magnitude of the space. And, you know, there's some fresh faces, but there's also people that have been here for like decades that just have like so much knowledge and so much to share about like their experience and just what they've learned so far. Yeah, with Pixar, it was the campus is beautiful. It's up there in Emeryville, near the Bay Area. And so thankfully I actually got to move out there because it was right after they weren't on lockdown anymore for the pandemic. So all the interns got to move out. And yeah, just really great to see people. Everyone's so silly. Like no one really takes themselves too seriously. And yeah, everyone just has like a true passion for what they do, and it really shows through like their work and things like that. Yeah, and then Nickelodeon's the same. Actually, at the very end of the internship, we all got slimed, which is really funny. Like not like
That's
a
so cool.
huge bucket over the head, but just like, you know, a small cup in like a kiddie pool. But yeah, like any employee can like come out in the courtyard and watch, and that was really special for sure.
Wow, what is that slime made of?
They didn't give me the recipe, but if I find it.
The secret formula.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. I didn't know they really did that. Audrey asked, well, first Audrey said, thanks for the presentation. But then they asked, do you have any tips on getting internships? Was it more difficult applying out of state?
Ooh. Honestly, oh yeah, I definitely should have mentioned this like in the presentation, but there were, of course, like so many no's before those 2 internships worked out. Like, I think since like my freshman or sophomore year, I was applying to like, any studio, any internship you could think of. Even Pixar, like the year before, I remember applying to the PUP program, which is the Pixar undergraduate program that sort of walks you through the pipeline of, the different phases like modeling and rigging and stuff like that. And yeah, it didn't work out that time, but then, the next year it did. And honestly, that was like really, really perfect timing. But yeah, I think what helped the most with like getting those internships was really like fine tuning my application and not applying to maybe this goes against my general advice, but I think there's definitely a balance between like applying to, everything and just like also fine tuning your applications so that it makes sense to like putting yourself in the recruiter's perspective on like, can I see this person in this role? Because I believe the year I applied for the Pixar animation technician internship, that was the only one I applied for. Because I really felt like that was like the one that had the most similarities to what I wanted to do and what I could do up until that point. And yeah, same thing with the Nickelodeon internship. I think that was the only one I applied for. But yeah, just getting other eyes on my application definitely helped, tailoring your resume, getting a cover letter. So that's the other thing with technical roles. Sometimes they say the cover letter doesn't carry as much weight, but it's always nice to have it, especially since it's such a technical role. It's nice to get a snippet into who the person is, kind of at their core, like why do they want to do what they do? And a cover letter is a great way to show that. And yeah, just also, that women in animation mentee circle I did, that was really helpful because we got to have each other read each other's resumes and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's definitely the thing that maybe helped the most is fine tuning it and giving it to anyone who was willing to take a look.
I think that's great advice, that process of really matching your own skills and strengths and interests to the opportunity and like kind of, yeah, going through that process to really kind of essentialize what those are and focus on what those are for each individual is so different. So I think that's great advice. We have so many questions. I think this is the most questions we've ever had. So
Oh, wow.
we will get through as many as we can, everyone, but thank you so much for all your questions in advance. So Ruwen asks, I love the demo videos you included throughout your presentation. What advice would you have for presenting work to both non-technical and technical audiences?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I was making this deck, I was like, okay, what is both interesting and like applicable to to show to people, because I know we have like some technical and non-technical people like just in this audience. But yeah, I think something that helps because what I used to do in my demo reel is just have like coding snippets of like the actual Python script, like the actual coding language on the screen, but I kind of realized that's not the most engaging way to showcase things. It's definitely great to have, you know, a GitHub or, you know, a repository that has all of that code so that they can look through it if they'd like to. But I think for demoing purposes, it's nice to, you know, kind of show rather than tell what's going on. And yeah, I think just also when you're curating a demo reel, you know, being specific into, you know, what part of the process you had a hand in, because especially if it was a group project, like you want to be specific about like, okay, did you handle like the texturing, the rigging, the, you know, did you write code for it? I did not do this for my own, but next time I will. But yeah, just things like that I think can really help make a demo reel stand out, and also really just showcasing like not every single thing that you've done, but just like things that help paint a picture of what you've done and what you're capable of. And yeah, and also just not making it too long, because what people have told me like here and other places is like there are some times where if it's not engaging within like the first like 5 or 10 seconds, they will just like, you know, move on to the next, just because there's such a sheer volume of stuff that they're receiving, like something personal. It's just, you know, they got to find the right fit. So yeah, spending time on that is also really key, especially if you're trying to get into an artistic role or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that answer. Very helpful. Strong hook. Do you have a strong hook for your be brief, best work? I think in your presentation you did a really good job of striking that balance by showing like thinking of the Maya script again, like running. You can see what it's doing. We're not a super technical audience, but we understood what it did, but also you had everything running in the bottom left, and like so I think you did a good job striking the balance.
What's your advice for someone who wants to start coding but doesn't have any previous programming experience? How to start, where to begin?
Ooh. Definitely like assuming they're out of school, because if they're in school, I would definitely say, you know, just, you know, try and join a programming class, like an intro to programming class if it's being offered that semester. But if you're out of school at that point, honestly, just trying to, because there's so many different things that you can do with coding, whether it's like, you know, web development or, you know, software engineering, like there's so many different avenues that you can go. I would just try and think about like what part of coding you think interests you, and then find the applicable language to whatever that is. Because there's definitely like languages that I don't really touch, that I've never learned, that I don't have like really any knowledge about. But yeah, if it's something like Python, there's definitely tons and tons of resources out there, whether it's like something similar to LinkedIn Learning, or, you know, other platforms of that nature where they help you through the process and provide examples and demos and things like that. And also just trying to think of like a problem that you would like to solve, and maybe like reverse engineering from there. That's sort of how I approach doing the animation export import data script, is that I literally just like, you know, talked to some animators and thought about like what was troublesome in my own process and what I would like to be automated, and working from there. So yeah, I've definitely like, you know, Google some classes if you're interested, and also there's definitely communities out there like on Discord that can support you in that process. I'm on a few channels myself and I reach out with questions. But yeah, I definitely say to start there.
Great. And just to piggyback off of that, Abigail specifically wants to work in technical animation. So any more specific courses you generally recommend?
Ooh, definitely like, sorry, she said technical animation.
In the technical aspects of animation.
Okay, cool. Because, yeah, sometimes it's interesting because for animation, there's technical director, and then for gaming, usually it's called like a technical artist because usually you're doing a bit more of like the artistic work as well as the coding. So yeah, definitely. In terms of, I don't have any like courses off the top of my head. Well, actually, the Python for Maya, if you're at all curious about technical animation, there's Maya for 3D modeling and animation, there's Nuke for compositing, there's Houdini for special effects. So if there's like a certain avenue within animation that you want to help automate and learn more coding about that, yeah, those courses would be really great. Because yeah, even for myself, like I could see myself maybe dipping my toe more into special effects later in my career, maybe being, developing more tools in Houdini. I think that would be really cool. And then, yeah, also just in terms of languages, if you want to get into like game development, there are languages called C++ and also C# that are heavily prevalent, especially in gaming. So I'd say those are maybe the three, at least in my experience, that have been helpful is Python, C++, and C#.
Well, thank you.
Tavel is asking, how did it feel going from 3D to VR and AR, and what like specific challenges came from moving between the two?
Ooh, I definitely think having that 3D modeling class before I did the AR VR class was really helpful because it was really great to both create assets myself and then find assets to bring into my scene and know how to, position them, toggle around in a 3D space. Because I mean, VR, it can get a little overwhelming at first, especially with the headset. You're like, oh, where am I? I feel dizzy. But yeah, knowing how to like just orient yourself around in a 3D space is super helpful before, just diving right into that. You totally could just dive right in, but for me, it was helpful to have, that exposure first. But yeah, I'd say maybe the biggest hiccup was just learning the other language. It was another just sort of learning curve where I never programmed in C# before, but there were enough similarities where like I can kind of, find my groove. It took a little bit, but yeah, not impossible. You definitely can get through it.
To shift a bit of a topic, Naraya asked a really lovely question. What was it like moving away from home? I think a lot of our folks, that can be a hurdle in making a career move, just not wanting to maybe make that big leap. So what was that? What was that experience like?
Man, yeah, honestly, I feel very, very lucky to have a family as, supportive as they've been. But yeah, I won't lie, there have been times where it's, I get a little homesick, I get a little, all the way out here. But yeah, it's just a matter of, being a little, for me, more vigilant about like checking in with them, because it can be easy for me to just like, you know, realize I haven't spoken to my mom in like 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to I need to call her. But yeah, the actual process of moving was a little stressful at first, just because I didn't really have anyone that I knew out here. But I will say having the other interns out here definitely helped me with that, because we were all sort of moving out here together for, you know, however long that was going to be. Actually, when I moved out here for the internship, you know, obviously I didn't know if a full-time position was going to happen. So I I chose a place that let me pay rent on like a month-to-month basis rather than sign a whole lease up front, because yeah, I just didn't want to commit if I didn't know if I'd had a job. Um, but yeah, definitely. And even if you don't have interns, you know, if you are moving out here by yourself, um, yeah, you will find the community that's for you. You will, you know, be able to make it, like you will have that support. It's just it might take a little bit of time, but it is possible for sure.
Thank you, and thank you for the lovely question, Naraya. I think
To kind of have another question about community, Lisa says, awesome presentation, thank you. Since you mentioned women in animation, could you talk a little bit about what your experience was like there?
Yeah, definitely. And so uh, that mentee circle that I did was near the tail end of my senior year of college. And I chose the circle getting started in animation production because at that point, I still really wasn't sure if I wanted to do like technical direction work, or maybe, you know, support the pipeline in a production management type of thing. But I knew that, you know, knowing production management is also knowing, you know, the steps in the animation pipeline. So I knew that would be like helpful no matter what I chose. And so yeah, that was really great. It was, you know, a virtual check-in every couple of weeks with my program leader. Her name's Monzi, and funnily enough, we actually both work here at Nickelodeon, and so that's been really cool to like, because like she was there at the beginning for me, and now we're here together, and it's really cool. Um, but yeah, it was just really great because we got to learn not just about the pipeline, but sort of like what I mentioned with the resumes and cover letters, like we got to, you know, work on that together as well. And yeah, so definitely great. I definitely would recommend joining one or applying for one if that's something you're able to do. Because they have tons of different options. There's ones for becoming like a 3D artist. There's ones for like production management, like I mentioned, and yeah, just any step of uh, you know, storytelling. You know, there's ones for crafting a pitch, you know, if you want to be a writer, like there's so many different options, and it's a little different each semester, you know, depending on who's leading the circle. But yeah, definitely a great way to get involved. Like also other communities like, you know, Rise Up Animation, what are some others? Asian Queens in animation, Latinx in animation. Yeah, just all really great ways to get involved and meet some cool people too.
amazing. I'm gonna get some of those links of the organizations you just mentioned, put them in the chat. Shane, if you want to take the next question, because that's just so helpful to have those resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Natasha, for that. We have a question from an anonymous attendee. Can you name one challenging aspect of your current job, as well as one thing you really enjoy about your current job?
Yeah. Um, I would say that a certain challenging part of my job is just, I think probably I think just being more comfortable coordinating with other vendor studios has been an interesting thing to learn because, you know, when I was at Pixar, everything was done in-house, like every animator, every texture artist, like everyone is there in that building. Nickelodeon was my first time working at a place that, you know, has vendor studios. And so I'd say mainly the challenging part is just like, you know, coordinating time to meet with them and like, you know, get you know, just get assets delivered and stuff. And I think it's gotten better, like, you know, just the more time that I've been on the team. But that definitely was something that I had to learn and adjust and yeah, just get a better understanding about how that process works. But yeah, I think we've hit a pretty good rhythm and pace for that now, which is nice. Yeah, definitely daunting in the beginning because I was like, who who do I reach out to? Like who yeah, but but yeah, and then I'd say like the thing that I probably enjoy the most is just, you know, getting to come into the studio and just like meet more people on my team and, you know, chat with them and, you know, just really become like a more tight-knit group because I didn't really know that many people when I first got here, um but yeah, it's just really rewarding to like, you know, have someone come by my cubicle, present a problem or issue to me that they're facing, and then like between me and the other TD on our show, we sit down and we figure it out for them in some way, shape, or form. It'll get solved, maybe in a slightly different way than we intended, but yeah, it's really nice to help people out, especially when yeah, and everyone's so nice. Like I have yet to meet like a rude person, like knock on wood, but yeah, I feel like that's maybe the vibe of animation as a whole. Like, yeah.
Just kind people, yeah, absolutely. I find it really interesting that like the challenge is communicating with people outside of like your immediate space, but like the part you really like is communicating with the people inside your immediate space. So it's just like I noticed it through your presentation, but that like community and like communication and learning and growing from other people is like kind of, it seems like why you do this, you know, and that's really inspirational. Let's see. Some of these are repeats.
Mhm. Oh, I don't know if we asked this, but Lisa would love to know more about your experience with women in animation, what it was like there.
We did that one.
Oh,
That
sorry,
that's
I
what the
think I
links
was
are for. No, you're okay.
looking at links, but I was like, I think that's what they were addressing. So the women in animation link is in the chat. Um,
Let's see.
I
Uh,
also,
lo- Go ahead.
sorry, I just wanted to mention I posted the link to the Afro Animation Summit, and that was something I loved that you mentioned how you reached out to them and asked if they had needed any volunteers. And I think that's just such an inspirational story of, you know, we often see these events and we don't necessarily think to actually reach out and say like, hey, do you need help? And how that got you to being the assistant of the event, the president of the event. So I thought that was really cool. And that's coming up in April. So that's exciting.
No, it was really great because yeah, I just went back for this year. But I was kind of on the other side. I was helping out with the Nickelodeon booth. It
Mm.
was really, really special to see like, you know, the same team that I was working with like just a year ago and, you know, getting to see them again, but you know, on the other side. And um yeah, just really great. It's really great when like events like that can, bring all these different people together from all these different companies and, just sort of celebrate like what we do, which is like, make some great movies and TV shows for kids and adults and, anyone in between.
It's amazing just to put yourself out there like that, and get involved. So great.
We have another question from Lakshmi, who is a rising junior majoring in game character art. They're wondering if you have any tips on getting noticed through your portfolio.
Ooh, sorry, you said game development art?
Game character art is what they
Oh,
said.
game character art, okay. Got you, so. Yeah, I mean, assuming that their demo reel is, full of original characters, I think, yeah, just showcasing, honestly, I think the art that really shines through are the pieces that, have a bit of like a personal touch to it, like that you can tell that they spent like, a lot of time, a lot of heart, uh, curating their piece. And so, yeah, I think I would maybe advise to focus on something that you like, less about what would be like the most technically challenging, if they're most like technically proficient, but just something that you really enjoy crafting, like a character that you would want to bring to life. I think is something that can make that demo reel stand out because it's something that is probably unique to you. Like no one else could have really come up with that character design or come up with that, look of the model. Yeah, I would probably advise that. And then also, just going back to, showing the process of how you made that, like not just the final product. Well, sometimes just the final product is good, but like if you do just, the model itself with like, the gray default texture, show what it looks like after you've textured it, after you've animated it. Yeah, just showing off like whatever skills you use during that process, just making that clear to them. Yeah, and also throw it on a turntable, let them see it from like different perspectives. Yeah, just show it off.
That's great advice. Yeah, people love passion. People love, sorry, I stumbled, but like, yeah, just what you're passionate about and lead with that. It's great advice. Let's see. Do we have any more new ones coming in? I've got a question from Lisa about networking. She says that she's struggling a little bit with that, or building a community in college and struggling with that as well as networking. And Lisa's curious what steps you took while in college to connect with peers or professors / other professionals.
Ooh. Yeah, definitely. I tried to be intentional with like who I was reaching out to. Just because, time is precious, your own time, your professor's time. And I wanted to be careful about, like not overcommitting myself to too many things, but just choosing, a couple things that I could really like devote time and energy towards. And so going back to my 3D modeling professor, I reached out to be her teaching assistant because through taking her class, I knew the kind of professor she was. I knew what kind of, honestly, just what kind of person she was. And I knew that that is something I just wanted to, emulate and be a sponge and just sort of, yeah, just continue to learn from her. And so the way I approach that is, hopefully your school is one that shows what classes are being listed for the whole year, like fall, winter, spring semester. And so I think it was around like in the winter that I reached out because I knew that she was going to be teaching again in the spring. And so just to give her enough time to like, you know, choose people and, you know, be on her radar. I messaged the semester before if she needed any more teaching assistants, and yeah, and then she emailed me back and brought me on board. So yeah, I think definitely just trying to be a little proactive about the things that about the people that you want to network with, and then also yeah, just like being respectful of your time, like, you know, not being careful with the wording that you're using in your emails and messages and things, you know, not being too like you know, demanding or anything, because sometimes even if you didn't intend it that way, sometimes it can come across like too direct or too like forward. So just being a little careful about how you craft that message. But yeah, not being afraid to reach out in general, I think is a good way to approach it. Because honestly, the worst thing that can happen is they just, you know, don't respond, and then you know, on to the next.
That's really insightful. Thank you. Let's see. Naraya has a question. What is the interviewing process like at Nickelodeon?
For the internship, that was, you know, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that was me chatting first with the recruiter just over the phone, just like the standard 10 or 15-minute chat where they're just, you know, verifying that you're a human and that you do in fact exist. And then yeah, if that like goes all fine and dandy, then you know they forward you along to whoever your supervisor would be. You have a discussion with them, and then maybe there was one more follow-up after that, just to, you know, get any final questions or considerations handled. But yeah, the overall process itself for that was about 2 weeks or so from beginning to end, maybe 3. But yeah, for the full-time position, that, you know, obviously was a little more longer of a process. Yeah, because I had my first interview for my current role like right after the internship. And then it was a series of, you know, meeting with the showrunner and the art director, and you know, back with my supervisor and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a little longer, but yeah, nothing too crazy, nothing too out of the box. Yeah, it's really, honestly, it's sort of more approaching interviews like a conversation, you know, like a coffee chat, because you're just, you know, telling your story, telling your passion, you know, explaining what you want to do, why this would be a good fit, and you know, going from there.
It's a
They
great
don't
way.
try and trick you. That's
Yeah.
another.
It's a great way to look at it, and just kind of helpful in letting go of the whole stigma of interviewing and the nerves and feeling like it's a test of some kind. So
Right.
good to know they didn't ask you any complicated riddles or something like that.
I think I would have maybe turned off my video and just like cried.
I have something in my eye. 1 minute. Yeah, no, that's wonderful to think of it as a conversation. Well, I think we can kind of wrap up the questions. These have been such great questions, and you know, I think it's nice to wrap it up with Robert's comment saying, I'm taking computer science right now, but I've never imagined applying it with animation, and I will definitely look further into it. So really providing some inspiration for this particular career pathway, and just this idea of merging different interests together to create your own path, I think is really, really wonderful. So thank you so much, Rihanna, for your time. We're going to hear a lot more takeaways from our audience of over around 200 people today. So I know there'll be a lot of takeaways, and we're going to move into that through our closing, but we really want to formally thank you for giving your time and your wisdom and words of advice to our community today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, of course. Thank you for having me. It was so great to meet y'all, and yeah, I hope this maybe helped even a couple of people. So.
I'm almost certain that it did, and just judging from all the comments and the questions that were coming in, this was really impactful, and shed a lot of light on this area of the industry.
For sure.
So I think with that, we will close with our closing ritual.
Yeah. Natasha, how do you think we're gonna close for today?
I'm glad you asked, Shane. So we are going to close with a question that we love, which is inviting you to think about one thing that you're going to take away from this space. The space was populated with a lot of knowledge, information, advice, inspiration. So what is at least one thing that you want to pick from today's presentation and walk away with you that you'll carry with you from today? And you can, just like before, offer your closing responses and reflections in the chat of what's something you're taking away from Rihanna's presentation today. And we'll kind of also fill the space with speaking as many aloud as we can.
First one just came in. Lakshmi says, networking is the key. Osayande said, oh, go ahead.
Stay focused on your goal.
Angie says, I learned to always follow my dreams despite what others say.
Your goals is what matters, and making it happen. That making it happen piece is great to come away with, because nobody makes it happen if we don't kind of follow the breadcrumbs.
Dorothy learned to be confident in their own skills.
Nice. Suleiman, quality over quantity in the sense of the amount of work you put in. Great.
Shyla says that during their interviews, they'll be able to enter with a new mindset, being less nervous.
Nice. And Faye says, I just want to find my purpose no matter what happens. Anything else that folks want to take away from the space today? Fawaz said, one thing I'll take away is to always welcome challenges, because they'll help you become a stronger and better person.
Very true. Lisa says, I'm taking a lot of hope from this presentation, as well as great insights from someone in the industry. Also, developing your skills and being open to learning is extremely helpful. That's something I kind of took away as well, is centering learning and connection to other people, and when learning from other people, or I guess just like your passion will guide you in the direction that will be good for you, you know?
Yeah, I feel really similarly. There's such a quality of knowing what you like to do, having enough confidence in that, and following that path. And I found a lot of patience in your journey. And so just kind of taking it slow, finding the opportunities, making connections, and not letting, as someone said in the chat, kind of not letting the outside dictate where you'll be or how you think about yourself, but making those choices for yourself. It's really inspiring. Yeah, there's a lot of similar sentiments kind of emanating from your presentation. So Aurora said never give up on your passion and what you really like. And Alani says learning from other experiences.
Absolutely.
We have one more minute if anyone wants to share what they'll be taking away from this presentation. Even if it's just resources that you didn't know were out there, new languages that you're going to go out and learn, or courses that you'll take.
New community groups like the ones we shared in chat, like WIA and all the other ones.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway too, is knowing that these communities exist. And even if you're not necessarily interested in this specific animation field, but finding the communities that do exist and not being afraid to reach out to them, finding those like-minded kind of outlets. To Vel, for me, it's to find a goal or someone that inspires you. Super important. And within what we're talking about is finding mentors or, sources of mentorship and inspiration around you.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you everyone for sharing your takeaways. And even if you did not share, hopefully you kind of have it in your mind, something that you're going to walk away from today's presentation with. So thank you again, Rihanna. And we're going to leave everyone with some opportunities too to continue at TAP outside of this space. If you'd like to join an in-person group at TAP, we are a community of like-minded, creative individuals that would welcome you to join. So we have a group running on Wednesday afternoons in Staten Island. If anyone here is Staten Island resident or close by or doesn't mind a ferry ride, Wednesdays from 4 to 5:30. We have a group running in Staten Island, and that will be until June 19th. You don't have to register beforehand. You can just show up, and all attendees will get $15 for each session you attend. And very exciting, we have our final annual 2024 showcase coming up on May 28th. So please, please, please join us in person at the SVA Theater, or you can watch the live stream, and we will showcase all the incredible work from this year's TAP participants, trainees, and apprentices. The link to register is on our website, and it is posted in the chat. So we hope to see you there.
And we hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. And as always, stay connected. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Rihanna. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Rihanna.
Have a great day, everyone.